In the name of Allah, who is the most gracious and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Humar Shad, and the book that I have chosen for presentation is Discourse Analysis and Introduction by Paltridge. Paltridge is a TESOL instructor at the University of Sydney, and this book contains of 9 chapters, and the first chapter of the book is what is discourse analysis. So let's define. Discourse analysis focuses on knowledge about language beyond the word, clause, and sentence that is needed for successful communication. It looks at patterns of language across texts and considers the relationship between language and the social cultural context in which it is used. Discourse analysis also considers the ways that the use of language presents different views of the world and different understandings. So, discourse analysis is a way in which texts rely on other texts, way in which we produce and understand texts to in relation to other texts. So let's go for subtopics. First topic is different views of discourse analysis. And here in this topic, it is discussed that textually oriented views that have more of a social theoretical orientation, social meaning and function. That discourse mm, is related to social meanings and functions, concentrate on language features. It means that the discourse focuses on language features. Language features here means that whether it is spoken or written. Socially oriented views, that discourse analysis is both linguistic and social in its orientation. Social constructionist view, that discourse is shaped by the world and shaping the world. Relationship of language and identity. When we speak or write, we show who we are and how we want people to know us. The way we dress, the gestures we use, and the way we act and interact also influence how we display social identity. Through written and spoken discourse, people perform and create social identities. It means that discourse is related to language, and the use of language is in the society. So, discourse and society has a deep relationship. And the next topic is difference between spoken and written discourse. Here, it is pointed that there are two types of discourse: spoken and written discourse. So, the first subtopic is grammatical intricacy and spoken discourse. Here, the view is that writing is more structurally complex and elaborate than speech. Speech is no less highly organized than writing. Rather, spoken discourse has its own kind of complexity. Lexical density in spoken and written discourse. Lexical density refers to the ratio of content words to grammatical or function words within the clause. Content words include items such as nouns and verbs, while grammatical words include items such as preposition, pronouns, and articles. Nominalization in written and spoken discourse. Here it is shown that there is a difference between spoken and written discourse. In spoken, we mostly repeat the words, um, and there is no much variety. And in the written discourse, there is a variety of words that we use most, like difficult vocabulary and more vocabulary. Okay, nominalization in written and spoken discourse means where actions are and events are presented as nouns rather than as words. Like a newspaper heading, there are always more nouns than verbs. Explicitness in spoken and written discourse. Written writing is more explicit than speech. This depends on text. That writing is more vast than spoken discourse. Repetition, hesitation, and redundancy, uh, redundancy in spoken discourse. When we speak, we show our gestures and hesitation also. Writing is more deconstructionalized than speech. This view is based on the perception that speech depends on such a shared context. This is true of conversation, but is not true of speech and writing in general. Like we repeat words whether whenever we speak something, and we repeat the things, and in a written discourse it is less. A continuum of spoken and difference between spoken and written discourse. So not a single difference but a continuum, such as texts which are more involved personally, such as some casual conversations, to texts which are more detached, such as some public notices. Spoken discourse is more vast than written discourse. So here are research question of this unit: how people recognize your socially situated identity through your use of language. How would you answer if in a situation someone meant more than what he has said? What are some rules of communication that people follow while using a language? Do you participate in some kind of spoken or written discourse, and how do you express yourself in these situations? In the way of your communication, same or different in these situations. So there is also a summary of the chapter. Yes, let me explain. This discourse focuses on knowledge about language beyond word, clause, phrase, and sentence. Discourse considers the relationship between language and social and cultural context. This is very important point that context, social and cultural context is very important as far as discourse is concerned. Looks at the patterns of organization across texts, considers that what people mean by what they say, how they work out, what people mean and the way language presents different views and different understandings. So, discourse examination of it examines how discourse is shaped by social relationships between participants and affects discourse upon social identities and relations. So, here is a linguist or discourse analyst Reagan Batch 1999 calls the bigger picture. He calls and the discourse a bigger picture. Bigger picture means that it is not as it is shown in front of us, it is more deep. So, directions for further reading. Here are some research papers for further readings if you want to do a research on discourse analysis. So, these are some research papers. Now, go for chapter 2. This is a longer chapter and having much information in it. It is taking time to open. Yes, I'm gonna show. Okay, this is chapter number 2 of Discourse Analysis and Introduction by Dean Paltridge. Okay, this is discourse and society. This is vast topic. I'm just giving overview of this chapter because it's very deep. Discourse communicates and discourse communities and speech communities. Here is the difference between discourse communities and speech communities. How communities are shaped. Characteristics for identifying a group of people as member of a particular discourse community. Group must have some set of shared common goals, some mechanism for communication, must have its own particular genre, its own specialized terminology and vocabulary and expertise in its area. Include meetings, newsletters, casual conversations, or a range of other types of spoken or written communication. Discourse community has particular way of communication and uses genre in an expert way, and the user is called a member. This is all about a speech community or discourse community, how it is constructed that the people of a speech community must have some common vocabulary or some genre and having some special like meetings, newsletters, or casual conversations that show that this is a speech or discourse community. So second point is speech communities and spoken and written discourse. So here are more points. Speech community refers to any group of people that speak the same language and interact with each other. There is no theoretical limitations on the location and size of a speech community, rather by the use of language varieties and a set of norms for using them. Not essential that all members of speech community know all these language varieties. Notion of speech community is broader than discourse communities. So here is more explanation about speech community and discourse. That discourse is that speech community is broader than discourse. So here is a definition of speech community. That other factors or to define speech community other than just languages, geographical, cultural, political, and ethnic factors, race, age, and gender. All this show that this is a speech community. Okay, go for the next point so we can Discourse and ideology. So every person has spoken and written genres are not just linguistic categories, but among the very process by which dominant ideologies are reproduced, transmitted, and potentially changed. Spoken and written genres are not just the formulation of politically and historically significant process. These are number of ways by which ideology might be explored in the text by looking at textual features in the text and moving from explanation and interpretation of text. Discourse, social class, and social networks. So, factors which influence social discourse include occupation, education, income, housing, and its location. Discourse and gender, that there is a difference between the way one deals with others, so it also constructs that the notion of gender. So thank you so much. This is all for the presentation. So this is very longer, so uh, it can't be explained in just one presentation. Thank you so much.